What's up, heathens? Today on the Street Preacher Joe video, which actually this is the next to last video, you won't have to suffer through him much longer, I promise. So today we're going to hear a lot of very interesting things. Some of the things are concerning cities in the Bible and how cities just existing obviously prove that the Bible isn't full of shit. And then Street Preacher Joe starts talking about how you shouldn't be following preachers, but yet he himself is a preacher. So maybe we shouldn't be listening to him. You're right, honey. We should just turn all this shit in now. And then I challenge him on some logic that God puts forth. I kind of put his feet to the fire a little bit on why God does certain things. Like, for instance...
No, so you're twisting the wisdom of God. That's what you're doing. The Lord knows what's inside the minds and hearts of every single person.
Then wouldn't he know that there were only Lot's people in Sodom and Gomorrah that were righteous? So why would he even have to send the angels? So if you want to see Street Preacher Joe flounder like a fish and nearly shit his pants, then stay tuned.
They can't just keep, if you examine the writings within that, okay? If this really was nonsense, you start to examine this book. It's the most examined piece in history. How come there's not one single city in this book that is a fake or made up city? Now, I'm not saying that just because there aren't doesn't mean it's true. What I'm saying is, because there aren't, it then begs the question, well, wait a second. Should we then examine it further to see if it is more plausible? Okay, so then you take the next step. Then you start to think. You'd mentioned, for instance, people in the past die for something that's a lie. Wait a second. People will indeed die for what they believe in. Great example, Muslim jihadists. But would somebody die for something that they know is a lie? If they don't know it's a lie and they believe in it, that's one thing. If they actually know for sure it's a lie, nobody, unless they're clinically insane, would do that. And you can't have 11 people at a time back then. You can't say all of them are clinically insane.
No, you can't say that, though. I mean, there's no studies out there that show that people have died for lies. People have died for lies. I mean, I can't cite specific examples.
They know it's a lie. They wouldn't die for something they know is a lie. If they didn't know it.
What I'm saying is that they would know it's a lie, but they would still die anyways. I mean, like, for instance, if a guy came in here right now and put a gun to my head and told me, hey, where's your son? You know, I'm going to go kill him or something like that, or I'm going to kill you. I would tell him, nope, I don't know where he is. Actually, I don't even have a son. And I would die for that lie. So, I mean, that's not actual evidence. If someone's trying to stand up for what they believe in or something like that, I totally see them dying for a lie.
Wait a second. Go back to your example. You said somebody would come in with a gun and say what to you? That if you have a son, you're going to die?
Well, no, they come. Well, yeah, they come in. They tell me, where's your son at? And, you know, it's either I tell them where my son is or I die. I tell a lie saying I don't know where he is, and I die. That I know I would do that.
Okay, so you do that to save your son.
Well, it's just an example of how somebody would die for a lie. You're saying that these people wouldn't have died for a lie when that's not actual evidence that Jesus actually existed or anything like that. That's just some kind of anecdotal thing that I feel like you're pulling out of your butt.
The scenario you just gave is completely different than somebody concocting a story and then dying for that story. That is a completely different thing. Your lie, your scenario is to save your son.
Okay, let me ask you this.
This is somebody who made up a story about Jesus, then went and did miracles in his name, had it documented, and then died for that, knowing somehow it was magically a lie.
Well, no. I mean, you're taking the whole idea that I think that Christianity is based on a concoction, a fiction, and you're putting that on the first century Christians as like this big conglomerate of Christians out there that concocted it, and then they subsequently died knowing that it was a lie. What I'm saying is that there were Jews that created it first, and then the idea spread and different sects of Judaism arose, and then they were killed believing what was already told to them was true. That is the scenario that I think happened. I'm not saying that the original people that actually concocted the religion were persecuted and killed and they held up the lie. Although I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for them to have died for a lie.
There's no way that the 11 apostles that died as martyrs died for something that they knew was a lie. I see what you're saying about the Christians. They are not dying for something that they would then know would be a lie. In your scenario of the Christians, they would be dying for something that they believe, but you're saying would then not be true. I'm saying if they 100% knew for a fact, like if Peter went and snuck into Jesus' tomb and took out his body, okay, he knows it's a lie, and then he goes and dies. That argument, and I'm not saying you're making that, but a lot of atheists do, is nonsense.
My response to that would be that the apostles, if they existed, they got their...
We have Apostle Paul who wrote a lot of the New Testament. We know he existed.
I'm not contesting the historicity of Paul. We do know that Paul did, in fact, exist. I'm talking about the other apostles that were martyred in the Bible. I'm not so sure about them, but like like Paul. Just take Paul for instance as an example of an apostle. He wholly believed in Jesus resurrecting, coming back, and Paul is preaching the word of Jesus, right? He wholly believes that. Not because he saw Jesus, saw the crucifixion, or anything like that. He didn't see any of that. All he got was information from scriptures and the revelation of Jesus, being the spiritual body of Jesus or the Holy Spirit, however you want to put it. He didn't get it from anybody actually here on earth. He didn't actually see Jesus walking on earth or get crucified.
You just said Paul got his revelation from the scriptures. Were those the same scriptures he was using to have Christians persecuted when he was still Saul?
Well, I mean, yeah.
So why would he get his revelation from those same scriptures that he seemed to know really well? Because he was pretty literate and pretty well educated.
Well, yeah, he was literate and he definitely could write, but that's not evidence that he didn't get his information from scriptures. What made you, what convinced you to become a Christian again?
Okay, I was never a Christian when I was Catholic. Christians and Catholics are two completely different things, right?
Well, no, I mean Catholics are Christian, but I understand that you don't consider them to be Christian.
No. Catholics are not Christians. Christian means you follow Christ. Catholics don't follow Christ. Catholics follow the doctrine of the Vatican.
Okay, who do Catholics celebrate on December 25th?
Okay, here's what I'm trying to teach you. Christ has a lot of teachings in the four Gospels, right? Yes or no?
Right.
Okay. Catholics do not follow all of Christ's teachings. They are not Christ followers. They follow what the Vatican teaches. For example, Jesus says in Matthew chapter 23, verse 9, and he's talking to priests. He's not talking about biological fathers. He says, call no man on this earth father, for you have one Father in heaven. Why do the Catholics call the priest father? Another example, Jesus says in Matthew 6:6, go in your room, close the door, go to your Father. Your Father who sees what you do in secret shall reward you openly. The Catholics say go to the saints. Jesus never said go to the saints. He says go straight to the Father. Jesus says in Matthew 4:10, worship the Father only. The Catholics go to the saints. Jesus never said in any of the Gospels, go to Moses. Ask Saint Abraham to pray for you. He never does that. Why do they do that? Jesus doesn't even call Mary mother. 2 times in the book of John, he calls her woman. Why do the Catholics practically worship her and venerate her as if she's the mother of God? Jesus existed before her. He is God. He says in John 8:58, before Abraham was, I am. The same I am that was at the burning bush speaking to Moses. And Jesus says in Revelation 1:17, I am the first and the last. God Almighty says in Isaiah 44:6, I am the first and the last. They're the same. So Jesus is a spirit even when he came in the flesh. But to say that he has a mother for who he truly is, he doesn't. Now, in the flesh, in a sense, yes, he does. But the Catholics take it too far. You don't see the word Pope in the Bible. There's another example. And you don't see the word purgatory or even the idea of purgatory in the Bible at all. So the Catholics have a lot of man-made traditions that have been fabricated and created. They don't truly follow the teachings of Christ. They follow themselves.
So that's just a no true Scotsman fallacy.
No, it's not. Christian means you follow Christ and what Christ says. The Vatican, I just gave you examples. The Vatican has a lot of teachings that are different than what Christ teaches. So they don't follow Christ. They have their own thing. That's what all these denominations are. They verge off of what he teaches in some form or another. They may have a lot of other things that they follow from his teachings, but not all of it. But still, a true Christian follows everything. That's what he even says. He says, Revelation 3:16, you're either all in or you're not. If you're halfway in, forget it. So, yeah, the Catholics can have some things from Christ, but a lot of what they also teach is from themselves. It's from their flesh. It's from the Vatican. So a Catholic is not necessarily a Christian. A Christian is someone who follows Jesus and what Jesus says only. I say I follow Christ. I follow Jesus. That's it. Whatever he says. Not what any man says, not what any priest says, not what any religion says. I follow him directly, personally, and only.
Okay, so you are very much against preachers.
When did I say that?
You just now said that you don't follow preachers.
Listen, when I say I don't follow preachers, I follow everything that Jesus says. If a preacher is preaching what Jesus says, I'm not following the preacher. You see what I'm saying? Because the preacher is not the one who's saying love your enemy. He's quoting Christ. So I'm following Christ. He's the one who says it. He's the word, right? Now, the Vatican has a lot of other things that they teach on top of what Jesus says. So they're not following Christ. Essentially.
Well, you see, the point that I'm trying to get across right now, though, is the fact that you yourself are a preacher, but you're saying don't trust preachers.
Yes, do not follow me. I will take you to hell. Follow Jesus. When I'm preaching, my preachings are based off of what Jesus says. It's not my own opinion or what I think that I came up with on my own.
Okay, what did Jesus say about homosexuals?
He referred to Sodom and Gomorrah.
No, not referring to Sodom and Gomorrah, because the sins of Sodom and Gomorrah were being dickbags to the angels, not homosexuality.
No, that's not what it says in Jude. In Jude chapter 1, verses 5 through 7, it's clearly for their sexual immorality. This is also confirmed in the epistles of Peter.
No, okay, well, what does it say in Genesis? What happened when God sent his angels there? What transgression did they commit?
Okay, it wasn't, okay, what we see from what they wanted to do to the angels, they wanted to do some really sick sexual things to them, didn't they?
Well, no, they went there and they were not welcomed, and they did not find any good people there except for Lot and his family.
No, they wanted to sodomize the two visitors, the two angels. They wanted to sodomize them.
Well, it wasn't the sodomy in what... Okay, so you're saying that it wasn't until the angels got there that the sodomy started. As soon as the angels got there, everybody was like, oh, I feel the angels.
Did I say that?
We got some sodomy to do.
I didn't say that. That's not what I said. You're twisting my words. What I'm saying is from the evidence of what we have that's written, that's what we have.
Well, no. What I'm saying is that God was sending them there to test the towns to see if he should destroy them. They went there, so that means that either they were not sodomizing each other beforehand, or they were sodomizing each other beforehand, and God just didn't care.
No, they were doing it beforehand because God spoke to Abraham before that, remember? And God and Abraham was pleading with God, saying, God, please don't do anything to them. If there's 50 righteous, would you still destroy it? And God says no. And then they end up going back and forth. What about 40? God says, if there's 40 righteous people in those cities, no, I won't destroy them. What about 30? If there's 30, no. So clearly God knew, and clearly they were being sexually immoral well before that.
Well, no, it kind of seems to me like God didn't know what was going on in the town, or they weren't doing those particular things, because why else would he have to send angels there? Why did he test them like that? Let me see if the angels go there and get ass raped.
No, so you're twisting the wisdom of God. That's what you're doing. The Lord knows what's inside the minds and hearts of every single person.
Then wouldn't he know that there were only Lot's people in Sodom and Gomorrah that were righteous? So why would he even have to send the angels?
He kept his promise. He told Abraham if there were, I would save them, and he did.
Well, yeah, he saved them, but I mean, why did he have to send the angels there?
Okay, see, here's the thing. The answer I'm about to give you is an answer that I would give in a Christian Bible study, and it's something that the atheists listening to are going to mock and think it's silly. It's not an answer that an atheist is going to really appreciate, but I'm just going to say it. Who are you to get inside God's head? 1 Corinthians 2:7 says there's a secret wisdom of God. Are you going to know every single little thing that's going on in my head? No. So what on earth makes you think you're going to know every single little decision that God wanted to make and still wants to make to this day? You're not going to know.
Well, no, I'm not claiming to know, but what I'm questioning is why he sent. Like, what's the logic behind sending the angels there if he already knew that?
Who am I to want to know every single reason why God did everything? And I know a lot of atheists are going to laugh and say, "Oh, well, so let's the excuse and just blind faith." No, I'm not saying that either. What I'm saying is this: you're never going to have every single answer to every single one of your questions as to why God does what he does. He's God. Why does President Trump make some decisions that he makes? I don't know what's going on in his head. So I'm not going to know why God does every little thing that he does. I'm not inside his head. It's not my job to get inside his head. It's my job to get inside his heart.
Okay. So let's play this scenario out. God sends the angels to Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay? The town decides not to rape them. But, you know, they get there and they find Lot and everything like that. So, I mean, what would, like if they weren't already doing these things, then there's no point in sending the angels there or anything like that.
You don't know that. You're not God. You don't know what the point was of sending the angels. Maybe the whole point of sending the angels was to protect Lot, to get him out of there. How do you know that?
Well, I think a better way for God to blink and twinkle his nose so that he could just make Lot appear somewhere else to fuck his daughters.
Who are you to dictate the dictator? Who are you to tell him how he should do things?
No, I'm just saying that it seems more logical and easier for God to just blink it. I mean, he was able to create 99% of the universe in a microsecond on the first day of creation. But yet he takes 6 days to create the earth, and he can't blink Lot out of the city.
How do you know he can't blink Lot? That's an assumption. What if he could? He just chose not to.
Well, I guess I don't understand the logic behind having to send angels there so that they could almost get raped, and to have Lot come out, save them, just so that he could turn his wife into a pillar of salt for looking back or whatever.
They warned her not to do it, but she disobeyed. That's why she was punished. Now, God could do whatever he wants. I don't know why God did it the way he did it, but he did it the way he did it because he knows better than me. That's why he's God, not me.
But you see, the point I'm trying to get across is I question these things, and you're saying stop questioning, and I'm just categorically against that.
Wait, whoa. Did I say stop questioning? Did I say that?
Well, you said, I don't know what God thinks. So, like, you were implying that I should stop questioning because I can't know the mind of God. That's what that implies.
Are you going to know every single little decision, for example, that Donald Trump makes, why he makes them?
Nobody knows why Donald Trump makes the decisions he does.
What I'm basically trying to say is you're not going to know every single reason why God did what he did. You can't even know why Donald Trump does what he does, or even me.
Can you see how that's telling me not to question?
I never said that. Did I say that?
What? No, but you saying, hey, you're not going to know what God thinks, that implies stop questioning, that you just got to chalk it up to God.
I never said that. That's what you say. You're saying that implies that. What if to somebody else it implies something differently?
What else could it definitely can imply, you know, unicorns riding in.
It could. You'd have to be pretty foolish to think that. But yeah, it could, couldn't it? So who are you to definitely interpret my words as to what I said and add on to my words? I never said that.
Thank you, heathens, for making it to the end. I really appreciate it. If you will, smash that like button and leave me a comment with your favorite part of Street Preacher Joe here. Personally, I liked the logic behind God not teleporting Lot out of the city, rather sending in 2 angels to get butt fucked. Be sure to subscribe if you like this kind of dumbass video. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice. Bye, heathens.